freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your year in review, season superlatives, and anywhere else we might go along the way. Joining me for this discussion, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick, hello.
Hello. Weird no golf today on a Thursday, PGA Tour at least, but at least I get to talk to you guys.
You didn't sound super excited about that.
At least I get to talk to you guys.
Thank you. That was much better. Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Rick. To be honest with you, Patrick, I'm not missing Thursday golf whatsoever right now. Just happy that this is behind us for just a little bit.
KP, Kyle Porter is here. These guys, I guess, did not wake up early to watch the DP World Tour. They did not get their views in.
I was going to say, we've got Yannick Paul, Ludwig. We've got all kinds of European Ryder Cup implications across the pond.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Since we are sometimes critical of the broadcasts here on the PGA Tour, they do something on the DP World Tour that drives me crazy. They refer exclusively to the Højgaards as the twins.
Like they're the only twins in the world.
There's two twins like on the top of the leaderboard. Yannick Paul's like one shot off the lead. How can you say the twins when the one of the twins is in the best position out of all these guys?
Wait, what do you mean?
Yannick and Jeremy are twins.
Oh, Yannick has a twin.
Yanni's
Oh
a P.
my gosh, yes.
Oh, I didn't either.
Chris?
Yannick Paul and Jeremy
Chris Paul
are twins. They both play on the DP World Tour.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wow.
That's fascinating. Is Yannick Paul going to be on the European Ryder Cup? This is about to happen.
Because he can play his way in this. Like he can get an automatic spot this week.
He can, as they say in Europe, pip Bob McIntyre this weekend.
Ooh, I like that.
What does that mean? That's just like you just get him.
Buy
You
nose.
just
Just
clip
buy
him.
nose.
Yeah.
Just clip.
Which I don't like, not to go full Ryder Cup off the top here, but Europe doesn't, they don't want Yannick Paul on the team, do they?
It's probably
I
less
mean,
than ideal.
He's been better than JT, but
Funny. That was funny.
If the option is Robert McIntyre or Yannick Paul, you're saying they want Robert McIntyre.
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know so much about that. I really don't.
Yannick played on if you played on the Outlaw Tour, you will be a menace at the Ryder Cup.
Ludwig Aberg played in the Big 12 championships this year. And he's going to probably be on the team, which is crazy. So anyway, all that to say, European Tour golf this morning. I actually went to see the live action Little Mermaid today with my daughters.
Ooh.
This is a movie.
Live
Yes,
action.
yes, like the
What does that mean?
well, it's the non-animated version of it.
Oh, okay. So there's
Okay.
human. Is it like a shot
Yeah.
for shot, frame by frame remake, but with humans?
Yeah, I mean it's close. I don't know. I haven't watched the animated one in several years, but it was fun. My 4-year-old was terrified because it was a little bit scary, but we had a blast. Middle of the day.
This is what they did with the Lion King as well, right?
Lion King. They did it with Aladdin, which was very good, and Lion King was cool too. But yeah, really good. Great music. Great soundtrack.
Who played Ursula? Is that the big lady?
Yes, Melissa McCarthy. She was excellent.
That adds up, yeah.
Yeah, she was very, very good.
Why does that add up, Patrick?
Because I mean, that's just a great role for her. I think.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Golf was played.
I wanted you to keep leading Patrick down.
Yeah, I was walking him down the plank there. I let him off the hook. Let's start, gents, let's ease into this with a little bit of major championship recap. Then we'll get to our superlatives, and obviously wherever we go along the way, I'm happy to indulge. So let's go in order, and Mark, we'll start down in your neck of the woods with the Masters. Jon Rahm gets the job done on a rainy weekend around Augusta National. Brooks Koepka was in the mix throughout the entirety of this event. But when all was said and done, Jon Rahm doubled his major championship count from 1 to 2.
Two things, right off the top of my head, I remember was how rainy and how cold it was. It was raw out there. And then secondly, I remember too sort of the public sentiment, because we were in the throes of this whole live PGA Tour battle. And it almost felt like if Brooks won this thing, it was going to be the end of the PGA Tour. And our folks, all in sundry, all the PGA Tour folks came out in solidarity behind Rahm. And look, he played a sensational final day to overtake Brooks. He honestly did. Brooks gave it up a little bit, I feel like. But Rahm, honestly, I remember watching some of that final round when I was done with my Amen Corner commitments. And I was sitting there in the green room watching it going, golly, this guy, he has no weakness. I just remember he was relentless and he was hitting shot after shot after shot. And he never really gave Brooks any chance to breathe. And it almost seemed like it was inevitable after it seemed like it was inevitable that Brooks was going to win on Saturday night. So it was some sort of performance. The weather was crazy bad. But as always, the Masters just churns out storylines that are unreal. I mean, you think of Rahm, about Mickelson, doing what he did there too, the final round. So it was a special event as always, and one I was thankful to be able to be a part of the broadcast crew.
Koepka 75 on Sunday, Mickelson 65 on Sunday. They both end at 8 under a T2, 4 shots off Jon Rahm's pace. And Patrick, yeah, I mean, it was nasty. The storm rolled through. They played a bunch of holes. They played 27 or more on Sunday. Remember, they packed it all in. And
30.
30. It was a lot of golf, a lot of waiting around. It was how many holes can we get this thing in on Sunday and make sure we still get it done?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. This was, 5 months ago now? It seems like almost a lifetime, with Jon Rahm making double bogey with the 4-putt on number 1 and then bouncing back, leading after the first day with the 65. Justin Thomas missing the cut when he did the walk and talk in the rain, and that let Tiger in through to the weekend, and then Tiger withdrew because of the ankle and everything.
That feels like it was 6 years ago, honestly.
Yeah, it's like I had to remind myself this morning. I was like, "Oh, we're doing the Masters, okay." And then
the 2023 Masters.
Really, that Sunday, right? They're on the 7th green. Koepka had that 10-footer for par. Rahm had the putt for birdie. 2-shot swing right out of the gate.
That was the moment, wasn't it? Yeah.
It really felt like that. And then Rahm just kept on going. Koepka had some really good par saves coming in to kind of salvage his round and keep the lead going into the final round. But that kind of defined that Sunday, which, like Mark said, the weekend was just ugly and kind of defined by the weather.
I got to laugh, Rick. In the comments here, T. Leon goes, Brooks played like 2023 JT on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the weekend wasn't
Tough.
great in general, KP. It was 73-75. Now, that was spread over different days and all that fun stuff. But I think there was a stretch of like 30-something holes where he didn't make a birdie or something. Do you remember that? Am I making that up?
No, that's right. I don't know if it was 30, but it was a really long time. And yeah, the Masters was it lacked a flow, mostly because of the weather. There was some, Rory JT missing the cut, and then Tiger with it. The whole thing was just kind of odd. Phil finishing second was insane.
Yeah,
he's been. I mean, I know this happened at Kiowa, but he at least had showed some signs leading into Kiowa. I remember he shot, I think, 65 at Quail Hollow right before Kiowa, and then finished almost last on the weekend at the Wells Fargo. This was like nothing, and then he finishes T2 at the Masters, and you're like, man, it was wild. It was really crazy, and I thought this was kind of the first of the events where we were like, Scheffler probably could have won, or finished near the very top. He just putted so bad. And then we said that basically every week until today, So I'm glad that Rahm got it, because I think Rahm he's always felt like, hey, he's going to win a Masters, and you don't want to be Sergio and you're 37 and people are like, hey, I think he's going to win a match. It's just harder. It gets more difficult to do. So I was glad that he knocked it off early, and he's somebody that he plays well enough to be a 2, 3, 4, 5-time major champion. So it's cool that trajectory is actually playing out.
As Patrick mentioned, that was the last time we saw the Big Cat, the WD, after making the cut. And then obviously he has not teed it up since. That takes us to Oak Hill. And if you like wet and sloppy weekends, let me introduce you to Saturday at Oak Hill, where it poured all day long. And Mark, we played through it. Didn't matter. We didn't have a stoppage. The umbrellas were sold out in the pro shop 3 minutes after gates opened on Saturday, which was fun. And this time, Brooks Koepka did get across the finish line, adding his 5th major championship to the resume.
Yeah, and after looking downright average in round one, I mean, it looked like there was almost a bit of a Masters hangover there with Brooks. I know he had the live victory, I think, down in Orlando, Florida, whatever, and there was a lot of hype about that going. Doesn't matter where it is, a win's a win. You know, I'm coming in here confident. And then he didn't look sharp at all in round one, but then sort of turned the whole thing around. But to Oak Hill, you know, very much like Augusta National, when you get to Augusta National, you sort of think of the fact that the course is going to be the star and grab some of the headlines. You know, coming to Oak Hill, Dottie, who's from the area, told us it's unreal what they've done there. And to get there the first time earlier in the week and talk to the players on the course, everybody, and to a man, everybody raved about what Andrew Green and his crew had done to Oak Hill. It was just magnificent. The way it was prepared showed up so great on TV, and it was a complete test. And so the course was great. I just fell in love with the whole area we were staying over there, Pittsford, New York, in that area, and the tournament was great. I mean, you talk about Brooks winning. That was, look, Victor had been around. He played well. He played solid at the Masters. I think he had a top 10. But that's where, but for a blink of an eye and one horrid line of bunker, it could have been Victor's thing, if you think about that for a minute there. So yeah, Oak Hill was pretty, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed the week. I was around the leaders. I had Scheffler on Sunday, but you and I were talking earlier, Rick. Oak Hill to me was very much also defined by Michael Block, which was cool. But, you know, in the end, I think it detracted from what was a really good win by Brooks Koepka.
Was it cool?
In the moment, it was.
It was amazing.
It was something. It was memorable for sure.
I'll say this, KP, to your question. Sunday, I was dispatched to the Block McIlroy group because my boss figured Rory was going to make a run. We all kind of did. And I remember the introductions on the first tee. When he was walking from the clubhouse down through the gauntlet toward the tee, it was folks were actually serenading him, chanting his name. And then we get down one, and Rory hits a drive down the fairway and stiffs a wedge. And I'm like, here we go. And the folks kind of went up for Rory. But getting to the green, every green we walked to until I left that group to go to Scheffler, folks were cheering for Michael Block. So your common golf fan, they were all up for Blocky. I tell you what, in as much as what I think it got a bit tiresome for a lot of folks.
Well, and Kyle, if you remember, in the moment, it was a big deal. It expired like Tuesday afternoon afterwards or whatever, very, very quickly. But in the moment, it was a massive deal.
For sure. We were, you and I were standing there hollering about how it was a big deal, right?
We interviewed him after he made the cut. Remember that?
Well, and nothing had really, he hadn't become Michael Block yet, right? He had made the cut and it was like, oh, it's kind of a cool story. And then it was like, whoa, like what's going on here? I thought the Brooks thing was really special. You know, I think that he's gotten a lot of probably deserved flack for the live stuff. And I think you've called him an pretty unreliable narrator of his own story, Rick. You know, even when he was at Augusta, I was like, well, I was hurt, but then there's always like something going on. And you're like, just give me lay it out for me, you know? But all that aside, to watch somebody win their 5th major, it just that doesn't happen very often, that we get a chance at that kind of history. Obviously 4 majors are won every year, but usually it's by first time winners or second time or maybe third, but 5 is very different. And I as a golf writer, as someone who covers it, as someone who's a fan of it, do I love Brooks Koepka? Not really. Do I love how historically great he's been? Absolutely, because it's really interesting and fun to talk about. And I think it gave us a lot to talk about at that event.
It was kind of in runaway fashion too, Patrick. So Hovland and Scheffler, they were 2 shots back. They were tied for second, but nobody else was within 6 shots of Koepka. So those guys did separate themselves. It was a pretty impressive 72 holes.
I really look back to the first 18 too, where, like Mark said, he looked absolutely lost with his irons. I think he ranked near the bottom of the field on approach, and to scratch and claw 72 and keep yourself into the tournament was really vintage Koepka. And then the last 54, he just put his foot on the gas. And that final round with Hovland, he opened, was it like 3 or 4 straight birdies, something like that. He really got out in front. He had a T-ball plug on a par 3. Dropped a shot, and Victor really didn't blink for that front 9 in the middle portion of the back 9 too. I remember the par 5, that kind of arena around that hole when Hovland made a 10-footer for birdie to get within 1, and Koepka had a 10-foot trickler, really slippery putt to maintain his lead, and just dripped it right into the heart of the cup. And after that, obviously on 16, Victor in the bunker, hitting it into the lip, Koepka stepping on his throat with the pitching wedge from the rough to tap in distance and slamming the door shut. It was vintage Brooks Koepka, and what I thought was the best major championship of the year. You have two of Rochester's adopted sons,
Sure.
Rory McIlroy, Michael Block, playing in the final group together, the hole-in-one, Michael Block stealing America's heart. I think the PGA emailed out, it was like Koepka wins the Wanamaker, Block wins over America. that was the subject line the next day in their email, which, I mean, you guys think the Michael Block saga's over. I think it's still going. The Block party is still pumping.
It's just getting started.
He's everywhere.
He just tied the course record at Valhalla. He's
Valhalla,
next year.
DJ Khaled. I mean, this thing is just getting going.
Do you know what I find amusing? This was highlighted to me by a colleague the other day. He broke the course record, and someone zoomed in on the scorecard, and where you sign your name, he signs Blocky. I mean, that's a big move there.
That's all you need. There's only one Blocky.
Sure, for sure. Rick, I'll throw it back to you, but this is the first moment of Hovland's career where I was kind of like, okay, this is different. You know, he played very well at the Masters, obviously, and he played great at the Open last year, but those you could kind of convince yourself, okay, he's just like a good ball striker, and he kind of got in the mix. But this one was like, he kind of went toe to toe with a 5-time major winner on a Sunday and hit like one bad shot, you know, and that's a different deal. And I was glad that his season played out the way that it did. He didn't win a major, but I think there was some validation with Memorial BMW Tour Championship of what we saw come to fruition at Oak Hill with him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's statistically true, but it felt like kind of the first big major championship Sunday where he went forward, right? I mean, the Open, him and Rory were just stuck in neutral for the vast majority of that final round. And this is the one where, right, he went toe to toe. He hit the shots he needed to hit. He made the putts he needed to make, drives it into the bunker face on 16. And that's all she wrote. But obviously, a sign of many good things coming.
I know it was talked about almost ad nauseum last weekend, but you have to commend him for having the wherewithal to go and identify his weaknesses, which was his ability around the greens because of the poor angle of attack as it pertained to bunker shots and pitch shots and chip shots even. And to go and work on that and secure the services of Joe Mayo, who is a hell of an instructor, but sometimes a little controversial. But for Victor to pick him out and go, all right, you're my guy, we're going to figure this out. That's when it all started to show. When he was in contention and there were 1 or 2 shots where he made saves. And in situations like that, to hang in there, to keep yourself in the game. That's where the short game skills are highlighted. And he started to show it off. And Kyle, to your point, it just built throughout the year. And heck, the last few weeks, man, it didn't look to me like he was afraid of anything around the greens. And so as a result, he could play a lot of offense. And my golly, he was virtuoso over the last 2 weeks of the season.
I'm going to try to pitch a Joe Mayo sitcom. He needs one. He is a character. I would follow him around with a camera and watch whatever he says and does.
Trackman Maestro. Yeah. To call yourself Trackman Maestro when you come out on social media,
hell yeah.
It's a blocky move, you know.
I just sit there and listen and just take it all in. We head to the West Coast for US Open, Patrick, and everybody was ready for death and destruction. And LACC is going to eat you alive. And then Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele shot a pair of 62s, and everyone lost their collective minds.
Color me shocked. The pampered Hollywood elites lay out, an easy golf course for these guys. Just another example why the U.S. Open should be held on a classical East Coast venue. You come from Oak Hill. I mean, there's Wingfoot, there's Oakmont, Shinnecock, the list goes on. And we were stuck with LACC.
Hey, listen. Hey, don't forget the role that the corrupt golf media had played in this either.
Correct. Yes, they shut down the crowds too. They didn't let anyone get close to the action, which completely detracted from the atmosphere. Watching it.
That's spectator suppression, is what that is.
Yes. Yeah.
It might as well, I mean, that's Hollywood for you. It's like a green screen. They might as well just played it in a like on a set.
It was a great script, how the NFL whole season is scripted. This tournament almost felt like that outside of a couple moments there on Sunday. But
add fuel to your fire, Patrick. Rick, I want you to share that strokes gain metric that you shared with me, and I'm going to preface it by going, this was a US Open that was supposed to be the place was going to whip these guys roundly from T1 to the 18th, the putt on the 18th hole.
Yeah, so the two best rounds of 2023 were those two 62s, 9.38 strokes gained per round. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele put up in the opening round of the US Open.
Like 20 minutes apart too, which was kind of funny. But for me, the first 3 days were all about Ricky Fowler sleeping on the lead and him, like, holy crap, is this really going to be his first win since 2019? This US Open. I know Xander was in the mix too, but he started the weekend off really badly in that fairway bunker on number 1. And obviously we had Scotty, his finish on Saturday to hole out for eagle, and then birdie, like 2 more holes coming in. Wyndham Clark's club twirl that gave me vertigo on Saturday to put himself into the final group. And then obviously Rory McIlroy and the wedge shot late into the par 5 and coupled by Wyndham Clark's 3-wood into that hole. And that was really the moment of the tournament, that hole. And I know I gave LACC crap, but when it came down to it, the characters who were in the mix, you had Dustin Johnson playing well, Ricky Fowler, obviously, Rory, and then Wyndham Clark, who had just won the Wells Fargo Championship. It was a great tournament and a great major too, but I'd put it number 2 on my power rankings for the year.
Well,
behind PGA.
Yeah.
Well, KP, as you and I, as part of the corrupt golf media, we were there, and this one was a weird one for me because I had zero service there, right? Like zero service at LACC, and when I would get back to the media center and read, it seems lame on TV and all this other stuff, it was kind of weird because it was not as raucous as other major championships, but I loved the golf course. I love, as Patrick said, the characters that were involved. It felt a little different being there. Well,
you're saying this because you are part of the corrupt golf media. You only care about your own comfort and your own, sight lines and your own views and all that.
Yep.
Front row seat, Rick.
Listen, like I love US Opens. I think US Opens are amazing. This one was it was different in that it didn't feel, usually they just feel so arduous. Like the whole week is just like, oh, like just so frustrating and intense. This one felt more kind of delightful, and not just for you and I, because there was nobody there, but for the players seem to just enjoy it more. And I don't know that that's necessarily a great thing. I think that's part of it. I thought the experience on Thursday and Friday honestly was pretty weak. I thought it was pretty bad. The weekend was a lot better. I thought Sunday was good. And it turned out, I mean, one thing that we do a lot is we act as if the first round is going to like just set the pace for the entire event. We do this every week, whether it's a leader, whether it's whatever. And it's like, yo, like they're going to change the course over like throughout the week. And it's going to be different on Saturday and Sunday than it was on Thursday. And that ended up happening. It got harder. I thought it was a good US Open. I didn't feel like Brookline last year was like an atmosphere. It was awesome. And I never really felt that at this US Open. But I mean, the Wyndham Clark experience, we'll get back to that twirl, I think later on in the show. But even on Sunday, like the lag putt he had on 18 was like, yeah, I don't know what I might have whiffed that putt. I might have missed it. There was so much tension and pressure in that moment. And him stepping up and winning that event was pretty cool.
Wyndham Clark gets it done, Mark, and adds a second win to his tally for the year. So he goes Quail Hollow, LACC, and now we have to look at Wyndham Clark through a much different lens.
Yes, no doubts. And then he kind of fell off the radar a little bit, for a stretch there post that, through the summertime. But that's to be expected. I remember I had, and I'm probably getting ahead of the run of show a little bit here, but a conversation with Nick Taylor a few weeks after after his win in Canada, which was like a life-changing event. And I said to him, so it's you in contention. Yeah. Well, he had missed the cut at the John Deere Classic. I'm like, are you stressed about that? And he goes, you kidding? I just won the Canadian Open just a few weeks ago. And so it was one of those things for Wyndham where I think he's won Quail Hollow, which was changing for him because he was the guy that we always knew he was talented, but he couldn't really harness all the power he had. We knew he had a great short game. And so the chops were all there, like Dub can go. And then he wins Quail Hollow and he hangs on to win there around a difficult course, then caps that with a major championship win. All of a sudden, he's fulfilled his potential. And I can imagine him going, well, we got to build on that, but screw it, I've won twice, and one of them's a major kind of thing. But he comes then to the end of the season and contends. The two front guys, Xander and Hovland, were way out in front of the rest, but played well at the finale at Eastlake. So it was a hell of a season for Wyndham, and I'm keen to see how he builds on this going forward.
Our final major championship was a runaway, thanks to Brian Harman at Royal Liverpool. And Patrick, there he is, our champion golfer of the year by 6 shots over everybody. Brian Harman gets his first major.
For a long part of this tournament, the leaderboard was just weird. Like you kind of see it there with Sharma, Grillo, Substraka. It was like, all right, when are some of these guys going to come out and play? And I think I look back to Harmon's both of his weekend rounds and the shaky starts he got off to. He was 2 over through 5, I believe, both Saturday and Sunday. And being able to ride the ship with, on Saturday, he had, Tommy Ladd, Tommy Fleetwood next to him. On Sunday, he had a charging John Rahm kind of breathing down his neck. And to be able to kind of settle himself, use some of the fans as motivation, as we found out, and bring it home was really impressive and in runaway fashion, like you said. So bit of a snoozer, I think. But if you're a major championship competitor, that's how you want to win your major championship. So all the credit to Brian Harman. It was a masterclass on kind of how to play with a lead. He kept all the trouble out of play, didn't bring it into play at all, and did what he had to do those final 36 holes to win.
Yeah, I thought it was the worst major, but the best performance at a major.
Yeah.
Which is not unusual. Those two usually go together, right? Which is a bummer. Like the Open is my favorite major, and it's great for Brian Harman, and it was impressive, and I'm kind of in on him. I think he's going to be awesome at the Ryder Cup. All those things are true, but it's also a bummer because you don't really get the Sunday or even Saturday juice that you would normally get. So I'm glad for him, though. It's a really cool win, and it sort of has an exclamation point on probably an underrated career.
A 5-shot lead at the halfway point mark, a 5-shot lead after 3 rounds, and then he extends it, wins it by 6. As Patrick mentioned, it was a strategic masterclass and held everything together and didn't really, outside a couple bogeys early, looked pretty solid.
Yeah, well, I couldn't comment on the tournament itself because the only bit I saw was some garbled streaming while I was on a train from Paris to Florence on Thursday.
Sure.
Oui.
So I didn't see any of the event beyond that. I didn't read any news. We were on vacation, but I can tell you from before and after. And before, I had him for 2 days in Scotland, where, the weather was kind of okay on Saturday, but putrid Sunday, and windy and gusty, and just the way he hits it, this tumbly sort of draw. I remember looking at him and saying to my on-course spotter, Craig, I'm like, if I was a gambling guy and maybe if I was on the first cut pod on Tuesday, I'd be like, this is probably someone to pay attention to at the Open, given what Hoylake represents. Because it's the kind of course where, the long guys may have to gear back and Harman can just hit that driver in the fairway. And then he made some saves on top of that were just freaking mind-numbing. I mean, I think he chipped and putt like 5 of 6 greens on Sunday in some really difficult conditions. And that galvanized what I was thinking. And so that was it. And then he obviously wins. And then when he gets back into golf, maybe it was Memphis or maybe it was the BMW, but I spoke with him on the range. I think it was the BMW because Memphis, he didn't play that well. And so we were chit-chatting a little bit and I congratulated him. So I was like, Brian, I need to know one thing because I know he works with Justin Parsons. I'm like, tell me the influence that Jack Lumpkin has had on your game. Now, for folks who don't know, if you had to have like a Mount Rushmore of golf instructors, Lumpkin could be on that, alongside Harvey Pennick and greats of yesteryear. And he said to me, Mr. Jack taught me when I was young in Savannah. And he said to me, he goes, Brian, because Brian was a good baseball player, he goes, you're too small for baseball. And he goes, the truth is, you're too small to play golf at the highest level. But you can beat guys with your short game. You can beat them with your guts. You can beat them with your resilience, just your manner. And as he was reciting all of this stuff, I was like, I'm watching a prophecy and maybe some great guidance by a legendary golf instructor play out. Because then I had Brian Harman that afternoon, and it was the BMW. It was Sunday. And in the 8 holes that I covered him on the front 9, he had 7 1-putts and a 2-putt. He hit the thing, he didn't hit it in the fairway, and I think played the holes even par. But it was just the pluckiest, bravest, sort of overachievingest round of golf or segment of a round of golf I saw. And I looked at this going, he was almost tailor-made for the conditions over there at Hoylake. And to Kyle's point, he is going to be a thorn in people's side in Italy in just about 30 days' time, because that man is blue chip and he is blue collar, I should say, and just first team all guts. I mean, he is a brave golfer with a great short game.
Yeah, really interested to see how he does. Could be an X factor when we get to Rome here in a couple of weeks. Gents, we got to roll on here. We're going to talk about Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. We'll do some superlatives, but first we're going to take a quick break.
When we come out of break for our intermission, I'm going to quiz you on who the hottest European golfers are for the Ryder Cup.
All right. And we'll be right back after these words.
How about this? Get ready for non-stop action that will have you saying, "You gotta be kidding!" Oh my, Canada! Mr. K-Stakes, what a play and what a finish! That's some pretty good football, eh? He's gone all the way to the house. It's the Canadian Football League next Sunday on CBS Sports Network.
And we're back. Kyle gave us a professional tease on the previous side. So KP, how would you like to handle this? Trivia, quizzing? What would you call it?
Yeah, I don't know how professional that was. I'm always interrupting you, but yeah, hottest golfers on the Europeans that are eligible for the European Ryder Cup team. You got me thinking about this as we were talking.
Sure.
So the last 3 months. By the way, who was the third best round of the year? You said Ricky and Xander were the 2 best. Who was the third?
Do you have?
Well, you look. No, I don't. Maybe Hovland 61 at BMW.
I don't think so.
Was it Bryson's 58?
It's definitely not that.
It was not. PGA Tour round was 2023. This is for the whole season. Denny McCarthy gained 9.27 strokes in round 1 of the Travelers Championship.
Damn right. Damn right.
Is that when he almost holed out for 59?
Yes.
Off the
Damn
grassy
right.
knoll?
That's the one.
Okay, so top 12 on the European side in strokes gained. This is off Data Golf over the last 3 months. How many can you name?
Victor Hovland.
Yes.
Fleetwood,
Yes.
Rahm.
Yes.
McIlroy,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Hatton.
Yes.
Maronk,
No. He's not close.
Justin Rose.
Yes.
Lowry.
Yes.
Oh, really? Shucks, that's surprising. That team sounds good, Kyle.
Ludwig.
I'm concerned. Ludwig is no. He's close, but no.
Hogard.
Which one?
No.
Nikolai.
Neither. He's close too, but no.
3 months
Last 3 months.
worldwide, right? I mean,
Seth
yeah,
Straka.
Yes.
yeah, Straka.
That's 9.
I mean,
Yeah,
I want to say Yannick, but I don't think he's been that hot that long.
No, he's not close.
Yeah, because he also gets a big negative on strength of field and stuff like that. Anybody eligible for the wait, did we say Rose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Patrick's
yeah.
good.
You're missing 3. One you should get, but I don't think you've said him.
What country is he from?
Aaron Rye.
Yeah, that's not the. Yeah, I mean that is correct. That's not the one you should get. This guy's from the same country.
So an Englishman. We said Hatton, we said Fleetwood, we said Fitzpatrick.
I don't think you said Fitzpatrick.
Oh,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did.
I think we did.
Oh, did you? Okay, my bad. I missed
Yeah,
that.
'cause I was watching him crush it this morning.
So
what
there's
about his brother?
There's 2 more. You won't get either of them.
Is it a U.S. Ryder Cup
What country?
selection? Jordan Smith.
Germany.
Oh, Jaeger.
Yeah,
Nice.
and Sweden.
Norn.
No,
it's the other Alexander.
Bjork.
He's been
Does
great.
that still sound like a good team?
Well, we always said the top 9 were great. It's just the
Yeah.
other 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds like they're going to do a Tony Jacklin where, like, there was one Ryder Cup where Andrew Coulthard, who's a hell of a player, was on the team. He played 1 match, and that was Sunday. Yeah,
You don't have to play. There's not a rule. Is there a rule that you have to play before singles, or just you only play singles, right?
It feels a little like an unwritten rule. Like I don't.
No, it was a rule. The President's Cup, you have to play everybody, I think, twice, maybe before.
I thought it was once
the Haotong
and then the singles.
Yeah, that is the Haotong rule. Because the Europe did that in '99. They sat 2 or 3 guys till Sunday singles, and then got beat on Sunday. But I can't remember anybody doing it since then.
That's a tough look.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not a tough look if you got the little gold trophy in your hands on Sunday evening.
I suppose.
True.
It is a shockingly small trophy, right?
Yeah, it really is shockingly small.
I'm gonna put these 2 together, Josh. Let's do Player of the Year, and I think we're probably gonna be unanimous here. Player of the Year. We don't have to spend too much time on it. The big 3 seemingly, Patrick, are Rahm, Scheffler, or Hovland? Cast your vote.
John Rahm.
Ram.
No question.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly close.
Oh, yeah. 4 wins. Four
All
wins in the Masters.
4 wins and 4 votes for him. Rookie of the year. I don't think this is particularly close either. Your notables are Eric Cole, Taylor Montgomery, Thomas Dietrich, Vincent Norman. Patrick, cast your vote.
The Cole train.
Mark.
Eric Cole.
KP.
Yep. Same.
Unanimous. Run away. Give him the awards now. Superlatives. So
Here we go. This is the good stuff. I love
Josh
this. Let's go another hour.
Josh has listed a couple of categories, but if you guys have your own categories that you'd like to go to, I'm happy with that. Let's ease into this with shot of the year.
Oh, I don't know if that's easing into
Let's
it.
ease into this with comeback player of the year.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick, would you like to nominate someone?
I will nominate one Richard Flower.
Ricky Fowler.
He is my pick for comeback player of the year.
I guess some others could be like Jason Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's back in the winner's circle. Mark, anybody come to mind?
Lucas Glover.
Lucas
Yep.
Glover. Okay. This is pretty good. KP, what do you think?
Yeah, I had Glover. This is actually fun. If you look on the OWGR homepage, the incredibly well-designed, redone OWGR homepage,
We love you, OWGR.
you can look at where guys were ranked in the OWGR at the end of 2022, which I think is super interesting. Day, Fowler, Glover, all outside the top 100. I think I would lean toward Glover, but you could talk me into. I think it's between Glover and Ricky. So I'll go Glover, but I could be talked into Ricky.
Glover 2 victories. Ricky 1, but Ricky had a much longer, consistent run of success. Flip a coin. I don't predict.
Played
Major
great at the
contention.
majors. Yeah.
Question for you guys. Did you know that this used to be an official award on the PGA Tour, comeback player of the year?
They should bring it back.
Didn't Steve Stricker win it 2 years in a row?
This is where I was going with this. Yes. So, comeback player of the year. Steve Stricker won in back-to-back years. How is that possible?
I don't know. What years was it?
God, I'm looking. Now I can't even find it.
I think he's won it 3 times, though, total. No. Because
That's a hell of a stat.
Yeah, it is. It
Has
is.
this been wiped from
Now I've seen it somewhere.
2006 and 2007?
2006
Mhm.
and 2007.
Mhm.
He didn't. Well, I guess the reason was he bounced back. He was negative strokes gain in 2005, and then all of a sudden he was 1.7 in 2006. So just like opposite ends of the spectrum, basically.
Right.
But then in 2007, he was kind of the same as in 2006, but he won a tournament. He won the Barclays. So he basically just improved even more, or won when he didn't in 2006. But it still seems kind of weird. Like you're the same player 2 years in a row, basically.
Well, we said you're back, and then we said you're back again.
You're more back.
Consecutive years. Yeah.
He dealt with some injuries, though, right, throughout his career.
Yeah.
So I'm sure those were in
Now,
there somewhere.
the close but not the same breakout player of the year, Mark. I've got someone who I think it has to be.
Yeah. Some of me would want to say Eric Cole, given what he's done throughout his career, but I think resoundingly, from my point of view, it's Wyndham Clark.
Yeah.
You can't give it to anybody else, in my opinion.
The KP, you were mentioning it. He ended 2022 163rd in the OWGR. He is currently 10th in the world.
It's crazy. I think the other guy that I would throw at this is Adam Schenk. I think he was close to 250 in the world, and now he's, I believe, inside the top. What is he?
42nd.
Okay, yeah, so inside the top 50. to me, those are the two guys. It has to be Wyndham because he won 2 big events, including the U.S. Open. But honorable mention to Adam Schenk. Wanted to throw him in there. He had a really good year.
Any objections to that, Patrick?
I'm with Clark. I have a few other nominees though. Victor Hovland, Taylor Gooch, Matt Fitzpatrick. He got his braces off.
Big
And
breakout.
Michael Block.
Oh, come on.
Sure.
But
Nick Taylor too.
That's a good one too.
I was thinking about Fitzpatrick's braces coming off. All right, let's do this. And KP, we're going to start with you here because I like this a lot. This is something that you have done routinely, where you essentially treat the PGA season like the NBA season and announce your all PGA team, which I believe is 5, which is what the NBA does. So the NBA has like first team, second team, third team, right?
Yeah, so they have 15, and I think you can tie maybe, so it's a lot.
Okay, but this is the all PGA team. 5 guys. Obviously, there are no positions, so these are the 5 guys that owned the year, that played best. How are we defining this?
Yeah, it's the 5 guys. When you think back of 2023, who are you going to think of that played? Who are you going to think of?
Okay,
who comes to mind?
Do you want to give us the 5?
Yeah, my all NBA, my all tour team, whatever. I like to call it the all NBA team because that gives you a good visual for what it is. So this was fairly easy, I think, for me anyway. It was Scheffler, Hovland, Rahm, Wyndham, and Rory.
I think only the 5th spot is kind of up for debate, and because you have to lock in Rory, Rahm, Scheffler, Victor, and I also settled on Wyndham.
I did too.
I did as well, but I gave strong consideration to Max Homa. I think through the summer, if he had been a little sharper, because remember, he kicked off the year really well. He was emphatic with that win at San Diego. And all of a sudden, he was a major championship sort of talk about guy. And then he flagged a little bit, but finished the season well. So I did consider him with 2 wins, although, one of them was in the fall, which I don't want to say discounts it, but he kicked off the season at the Fortinet. But Wyndham with a major championship was why I picked Wyndham over Homa.
Yeah, Wyndham was a lock for me. He was in the 4th spot, and the Rory one was more, not up in the air, but like he only won once. He was statistically, it was pretty close to Scheffler, right? It was really good.
He had 2 wins. PGA Cup in the fall.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of just like I go by year, not by season. Yeah. So I'm just going 2023 year. But even then, I would say probably Rory. Brooks is an interesting one because it's hard to evaluate him, but he just wasn't consistent enough throughout the year. He won the PGA, obviously, which was incredibly impressive. But yeah, I feel pretty good about those 5.
So if we put you on the spot for a second team, would Brooks be on your second team?
Oh gosh, I haven't even thought about second team. Yeah, I think he would be on my second team. I think it would be Brooks, Brian Harman.
I think Homa would be on my second team.
Yeah,
I think he has to be. Some other options to give you guys to rattle off a couple. I'm just looking at the money list. Cantlay, Keegan, Xander, Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Fowler, Spieth, Burns, Jason Day, Kitayama. Those are the guys that are next on the money.
Yeah, given all the recent chit chat, sorry, Kyle. I mean, Egan had 2 victories, and look, he was snubbed. He had a valid case for a run at that Ryder Cup team. So I would have Keegan on the second team, certainly.
So would I.
Keegan's hard because, again, I go just by year, and he's had 1 top 10 since March. So he just wasn't. It was a win, which is meaningful, but I don't know. Fleetwood's up there for me. I don't know. I would need to spend some time before I gave like a true. Here's my second 5.
Fleetwood's a hell of a pick. I called him a lot this year, and man, when I sit and reminisce about the season that's just been, I still can't believe that he didn't somehow just fall his way into a win, given he was around so much.
Yeah, I know.
They're coming. Patrick, why don't you kick us off on your, we'll call it like your favorite, or we'll call it best tournament.
Best tournament. Okay. We're not doing best tournament finish.
Okay, you can be best tournament finish if you want.
I think I'm going to do the Scottish Open.
Oh,
so good.
With Bobby Mack, the shot he hit, presumably to win his home country's Open.
It was over.
Only for Rory McIlroy to birdie the 71st, and then that 2-iron. Oh my God! Into the last to break his heart. That for me was, I thought. I know there's a lot of other good ones, but that's the one that really stuck out to me with the shot making down the stretch from those.
If I may ask a question, because we were over there and the finish was electric, and in the car rides on the way back to the hotel, and then we had like an early after late lunch, early dinner, whatever it was, because we went early because of weather. Our major concern as the broadcaster was, one, we were using other people's cameras, but two, how much grief were we going to take in the United States because they went so early. So it was not, regular 3 to 6 p.m. viewing on a Sunday. How much was said about that? Because I never even read anything.
Oh, I mean, there were comments on the internet, I'm sure, but if you ask anyone over the age of 55, I don't think they cared or even knew when it was on the 3 to 6 window later that day on CBS.
I'll say this, looking at that graphic there, Rick and I talked earlier. 2 of the 3 best shots I saw this year happened in short succession there on that 18th. Bob McIntyre was like 30 yards to the left of where Rory was in the rough and carved this 3-wood, which I called the best shot I'd seen this year. And then Rory follows this up. Didn't have a 3-iron in the bag. So it was between drilling a drawing 4-iron or carving this 2-iron against the wind. And that thing was freaking majestic.
That wasn't the only national championship with a pretty good finish. I'm thinking of the Canadian Open where Nick Taylor hits a 72-foot eagle putt. KP, did that top your list? Are we close?
Well, I had 3. So I had that one, the Scottish. So both of those. One problem was I was not working the Sunday of the Canadian Open. I was headed to, what was that, week before LA? I think I was headed out to LA for the US Open. So I saw bits and pieces of it. We got the Adam Hadwin tackle, which was just extraordinary. That was a great Sunday that I wish I wouldn't have missed. But my third one, Rick, is Fitzpatrick and Spieth at Harbour Town. That was so good. I mean, Spieth being in it is always, entertaining, but Fitzpatrick hit some golf shots, and Spieth barely missed a putt to win it. I think it was on the first playoff hole, or maybe the 72nd hole in regulation. That one was a fun one. I really enjoyed that ending.
There's so much crossover between like shot of the year and best tournament finish, because the shot that Fitzpatrick hit in the third playoff hole just to kill it, to end it, is up there for me.
So good.
The Nick Taylor putt is up there. I mean, there's a reason that shot and tournament finish overlap so strongly.
We had a season-ending dinner last week, and so we went around the table of announcers, the CBS announcers, and we were asked basically to share our favorite event, and if it was used, you couldn't use it again. And resoundingly, because the Nick Taylor win in Canada came up first. Just everything about it. For me, I mean, to be on the call there was unreal. The Canadian fans were out en masse, and they were out there. It was raining. It honestly, for me, was the moment of the year. Just to watch this Canadian golf public, who, remember, had been starved of this event for like 3 years due to COVID. And then Rory won. And then Rory came back 3 years later and then defended, at St. George's. And that was unreal. And that one still stands out to me. But to go back there this year and to experience that Nick Taylor thing coming down the stretch was was incredible. It was honestly something that will be etched in my mind for as long as I draw breath. So all those things you talk about were special. But of the 23 events that we covered this year for CBS, every single one of us agreed that the Canadian Open was by far and away the best. The Hadwin thing was hilarious, the way Jim called it. I think Nance's glorious and free call was brilliant because the fans were singing the national anthem every time a Canadian would come through that par 3, that rink hole. And so Jim heard this, and to get glorious and free into the winning call was just special. I remember it for days.
70 years between Canadians winning the Canadian Open, Patrick.
Jim's call of Adam Hadwin getting tackled also was electric. He goes, and they just tackled Adam Hadwin.
Any other shots that stood out? I've got one still in the clip.
Mine was my
I have a few more.
My top 3 were Rory and Bob McIntyre, and then the Wyndham Club Tour was just that one. I will. That's probably it for me, just because I know it was Saturday, it wasn't Sunday, but it was such a in the dark, needed it.
It was falling apart, I think, wasn't it? It was a little loose.
Yeah, and I think he got into the final pairing with that shot.
Correct.
Yeah, he birdied and Ricky missed a short one.
Because Ricky and Rory were going to be in the final pairing. It was sick. I think he had just either doubled or bogeyed 17 right before that. And I'll remember that one for a while.
Rick, I've got a few, that, so I want to share them just real fast. Mac and Bob McIntyre and Rory, the 4-iron Max Homa hitting 16 at San Diego, Torrey Pines, was unbelievable. Into the wind, into the sunlight, that was special. Nick Taylor, the putt in Canada, these were all shots I got to see.
You got any NBC shots on here, Mark? Or?
No, I didn't watch those.
Okay.
Matt Fitzpatrick 2, the 9-iron at Hilton Head, and then the lob wedge on the par 5 15th, by Saturday or whatever, around a tree, hooked around a building to a few feet for birdie was special. Then there was an Aaron Badley holdout with a wedge at the 3M from greenside that was unbelievable off a downhill lie. Grillo's 9-iron in the playoff at Colonial to a few feet to win, spinning off the hill. And then I had Michael Block, he's back, shank a 9-iron straight over the top of my head at the 5th hole, on the 5th hole at Oak Hill. Saturday, he's into contention. I get sent out to bring him in. He gets on there with a tee 9-iron. The hole's 145 yards. And I'm 25 yards off the right. He shanks it straight over my head. Hits a tree out of the premises, kicks back in. So as much as that one wasn't as good as the others, that one stands out to me too.
I've hit that shot.
Yeah, certainly memorable. Go ahead, Patrick. You got any others?
Yeah, I've got Rory's drive against our boy Denny McCarthy in the match play to close
18.
it out. I have Rahm's 4th putt on number 1 at Augusta National
to keep him in it.
I have Michael Block's ace and up and down at Oak Hill. Rahm's 2nd into 14 in the final round at Augusta, carving that one in there from the right rough was really good. Chris Kirk's wedge in the playoff at the Honda. And then Brooks Koepka's tweet at Brandel Chambly after the PGA Tour and PIF merged.
That was the shot.
That was wellness check, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wellness check on Chambly. That was pretty good.
I have just one more that nobody saw because I don't think it was covered.
I was there.
Jordan Spieth on the 17th in Phoenix out of the fairway bunker, 50, 60 yards. Yep. You know what? Greller called it the best shot he's ever seen Jordan Spieth hit.
Yeah. Because it was the water on the left or back left?
So you're hitting towards the water. There's a bunker short, right? And then there's a very small landing area, and those things were spicy.
And through the middle portion of the green, there was this tiny little ridge that if you land on the backside of it, it kicks over the green. If you land it shy, it's likely to hit and stop. And he landed this thing like into the top bank of it. It jumped over, checked, and released down there to a putt like 3 feet. I saw this, and Grella walked past me, and he said that's the best shot I've seen him hit. And I used that on the air, which was probably not a good idea, but But yeah, that shot for me was great. It really was good.
There's the
welfare, not wellness. I always say wellness. Welfare check on Chambly.
that is my shot of the year.
Is that correct usage of welfare?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not.
I thought it was pulse check on Chambly, honestly. Looking back on it.
Pulse check. Well, all things considered, gentlemen, is there we're calling it a moment that stands above all else, Patrick?
Moment.
I'll tell you, the moment that shook was walking out of the gym and finding out that a merger had just happened between the PGA Tour and LIV. I had people who do not follow golf reach out. I mean, it was shocking.
That was the most tilt-a-whirl day I've ever had covering golf.
Yes,
it was just like, I'll never forget seeing, I think I got a text from somebody who doesn't, same thing. I think I found out from someone who doesn't follow golf.
Yeah.
Which is like,
a joke.
I triple checked the sources because I thought it was a joke as well. And it was the PGA Tour. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go straight to the website. I'm going to type it in myself. I'm not clicking any links because I don't trust anything. I will type it in. And right there on the homepage is the press release.
I'm not clicking any links.
Those sneaky redirects will get you.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if it was the moment of the year. It was definitely
biggest surprise of the year.
Yes.
The moment where time stood still just for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I had 3 here for moment of the year. Brooks winning the PGA. That just felt like really monumental because he's such a great champion. Hovland's 28 at Olympia Fields.
Yeah,
extraordinary. And then the third one that I had was Keegan winning Travelers.
Good one.
Just because he was, he's had every event in the Northeast is a hometown event for him, but it did feel like it was a meaningful victory for him and somebody who he's been grinding for a long time, man. Like he's obviously been better than Lucas Glover over the last 8 years, but he hasn't been great. And so for him to rebound this year, win a couple times, win Travelers, that was cool. And you could tell it meant a lot to him.
Yeah. Really good one there.
I've got Tiger and JT on the 18th green at Riviera. Kind of that smirk he gave JT. And then Michael Block shooting 81 in the opening round at the Charles Schwab Challenge. And Kurt Kitayama marking his golf ball on the 72nd hole of the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
That was sick.
From 3 inches out?
No, not even.
Not even. On the edge of the hole.
3 centimeters.
Yeah, 3 dimples away from dropping.
That's a good one.
Finau did that too. He did that last year at one of the ones he won. Or maybe did he win Houston a couple years ago?
Yeah, it did. It's courtesy, guys. You can't go whole out and then have the poor guy left to make 5 feet for 15.
Oh, for sure. It's just hilarious. It just looks hilarious.
Anything we missed, Mark?
No, I mean, I'm with you on the Tuesday morning. I remember because I was driving to coffee with my wife and she was scrolling through social media. And then my phone rings and it's Randy from HQ going, "Hey, can you get on the air?" I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because of the merger." I'm like, "What merger?" And so I called folks and there were folks at the tour didn't know what was going on. But then later that week, when we get to Canada, when it's like there's security around the clubhouse and players taking interviews because they had that player-only meeting over there, it was kind of messy. And it was ironic how the big event at the start of the week suddenly turns into the bigger event on Sunday when Nick Taylor holds that 72-foot putt to win it all. So, Canada, I think, was a large part of the biggest moment for me.
Yeah, I forgot the whirlwind of things during that week on both ends of the spectrum. All right, we'll lump these two together and then we'll get out of here. Surprises and disappointments. I think obviously whether you want to say Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman winning major championships, whether you want to say JT missing the playoffs, obviously disappointments. Where are we headed here, KP?
I'm gonna go biggest surprise: Harman winning the Open by 6. That's anybody winning any major by 6, much less Brian Harman. And then disappointment. I mean, obviously JT was really bad this year. Personally, I thought Cam Young was kind of disappointing. He was good at times, but he just lacked some consistency. He did not take a demonstrable step forward compared to last year. And maybe I'm disappointed because my expectation was that he would, and then he didn't. So I'll throw Cam Young in there. Obviously JT is sort of like just built into the model.
Yeah. Right. the default answer. Patrick?
My biggest surprise, I agree with Harman, but I'm also going to say Scheffler only winning twice.
Oof.
I think you could say is surprising. I didn't want to put him into the disappointment one. I think that's a different conversation we could have if we want. But I'm going to put Patrick Cantlay in major championships. I'm waiting for this guy to finally put himself into contention. He had 3 straight top 15 finishes in the first 3 major championships, but really didn't hit a meaningful shot on a back 9 on Sunday or on Sunday, really. And he's just too good of a player to not contend in major championships on a consistent basis. So I had high hopes for him coming into the year. I think I said he'd have a year like Rahm had, and that clearly did not happen. So for me, it was Cantlay major championships.
Patrick, what happens first? Tommy Fleetwood wins a tour event or Patrick Cantlay wins a major?
Fleetwood.
Okay.
He gets himself in the mix a lot on the PGA Tour. Can't say the same in major championships.
How many top 10s do you have this season? It was
Fleetwood.
Yeah, he was good this year.
He had 8 top 10s worldwide this year in 21 starts.
Yeah, 4 of his last 5 were top 10s,
Yeah.
and 6 of his last 8. So, yeah, those alone.
Yeah, but that's a really good question. I mean, Cantlay, to me, what is prototypical Cantlay was what he did in Memphis this year in the first round of the playoffs. Nobody knew he was even around. Well, look, it's like that anyway. But then he's sort of lurking. All of a sudden, he's got a shot to win, and he's in a playoff with Lucas Glover. And that sort of manner, will serve him well in major championships. So I think that's a really good question, and I could go either way if you convince me between he and Fleetwood winning.
Okay.
Rick?
That after months of not playing, Tiger Woods showed up at Riviera and ensured he had an extra tampon on him so that when he outdrove Justin Thomas on 9, he could hand it to him.
Are you talking about surprise, disappointment,
surprise?
Both?
That's surprise. I did not see that coming in any way. Did I see that coming? I did.
I remember we were texting about. Do you remember this?
Yes,
Rick went viral.
So
I
never talked about the story about this.
I don't think we have either. Go ahead.
I was there at 9 when that happened. I was following that group. I was right there, and I saw something fall to the ground, and so did the marshal. And I thought it was a pin sheet, okay? Because the marshal picked it up and tried to hand it to Bones. Like, hey, you dropped this. And Bones was like, no, we're good. But like the marshal was like genuinely trying to be helpful. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I thought that was a pin sheet. I don't know. And I was going through Getty later, and he had the shot. He had the money shot. I mean, it was zoomed in, high res. You could see exactly what was going on. And I put 2 and 2 together and was like, holy crap. And then I get same thing, KP, like, Getty is Getty right? Is this altered? Is this Photoshop?
It felt like, again, you clicked on too many links and you ended up somewhere where you're like, I don't
Getty anymore. Yeah.
So Rick texts me and he was like, am I what am I looking at here? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, are you going to put that out there? And he was like, I think so. Yeah, here it is. And I said, are you ready to go like mega viral? And I think, Rick, I think you didn't
Right.
You were like so close to it. You were so in the moment that you didn't realize how like bonkers it was going to go. And I was like, dude, this is going to be massive. And then it just like, I mean, you had to like turn your phone off.
Yeah. So I knew. So you're right. I didn't. You said this is going to be mega viral. That's exactly what you said. And I was like, right. But I thought that meant in the golf world. I did not know it was going to be on every media outlet.
NBC Morning News, yeah.
Everywhere. And remember, we're there. So I got to go back to the media center the next day. And then of course Tiger gets asked about it in his presser. And I'm like, I cannot believe, and I'm standing right there like, I cannot believe we got back to this. I never expected us to get back to this point.
Yeah. It's wild. And I think it shows the, I guess if you want to call it the power of social media, or like things spread very quickly and easily, and then it leads to a story or a narrative. And that's pretty cool. But it's also pretty like, I don't know how you feel, Rick, but kind of like scary. You're like, man, you could like, anything could do that, you know?
I was lucky, and I was happy that like I did not take a stance on it, right? I just said this is what happened on the 9th hole today. So everyone in the comments were fighting with each other, and everyone was all hot and bothered with each other, but like none of it was directed at me, and I was just I like turned off my phone. I was like, I'll check in next week. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the temptation is always to like try to say something funny, and you played it. I mean, you played it the right way. That's not a moment to do that. And that was a crazy moment. I forgot about that.
Here's my question, Rick. How many times did you type out the caption and then delete and then retype and delete?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
A lot. And I remember, and I was sitting there because I sat on it for hours, right? Because I was like, I don't know what I'm seeing. Somebody else would have picked this up by now. I don't know if I want to be a part of this. And
yeah, that's the question.
So I sat on it for a while. I was texting Kyle. I was like, I don't know. And I finally just
send.
And immediately it was like, I was already like regretting it 5 minutes later.
Okay, so here's what I said. Here's how I just looked up our conversation. You said, "What are your thoughts on me posting this?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. It will go mega viral." To be clear, it's not fine because it will go viral. It's fine and it will go viral. Right. I wanted to clarify there.
But yeah, you should send it because it's you're gonna look like an idiot, but it's gonna go viral.
Tie your own noose while you hit send.
Oh boy! All right. Well,
here's like a few minutes later. I said I'm scared to retweet it, and you said you told me it was fine.
Yeah, then you wouldn't touch it, and I'm like, but you said it was fine. What are we doing?
I said, it's fine for you, not for me.
It is.
Yeah. It's so funny. That's so good. Oh man. All right. Well, we finally got that out there. Anything else, gents?
Well, I was going to say my surprise was I'm in line with Patrick and Scotty Scheffler. My disappointment, my surprise was also the Tuesday morning merger announcement. And along those lines, my disappointment was, and this is maybe a little personal, but I was behind the green Sunday afternoon, and maybe this is like the tyranny of the urgent or recency bias or whatever. But I'm behind the 18th green with my daughter in the golf cart next to me at Eastlake. There's a big crowd around there, and they're having the For Television awards ceremony for Victor. And Amanda introduces Jay Monahan, and he gets booed. And I was like, come on, fans, we're better than this. This is not about Jay Monahan and your opinions of what you think is going on. This is about celebrating a young man who's pulled off something monumental over the last few weeks, and you guys are taking offense or taking objection to a guy who you don't even know what's going on behind closed doors. And so I was like, no, man, Atlanta, this is disappointing. And I was saddened, I think, more than anything else, by the crowds booing Monahan on the 18th green at the season finale. It was out of character and it was low class.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess, I mean, the next couple of months are going to be very, very interesting. And obviously, I don't think, Mark, that I don't think opinions on Jay Monahan are going to get less polarized over the course of the next couple months.
No, no, it's I think there's still a lot on the table, Rick. I think everybody at the tour, I think Monahan kind of he's laying out, hey, here's the path, but he's also hedging his language a little bit of like, and Brendan Porath pointed this point, hey, we're going to do something that's a good outcome a positive outcome for the PGA Tour. And you're like, well, that's a hedge, right? Like that's not that sentence doesn't include the PIF. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting 4 months leading into the new season.
My goodness. We've got a lot to talk about. Also, it's that time of year where we exchange mailbag questions for ratings and reviews. Yes, we pimp out our Apple podcast. You leave a 5-star rating, you ask a question, we will answer it. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything you want, we'll hit the mailbag episodes over the course of the next week or so. I think we've got it scheduled for Thursday the 7th. So make sure that you get your reviews in before then. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered a lot today, gents.
Cool.
All right. Big thanks to producer Josh, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Patrick McDonald, available on Twitter at Amateur Status. Mark Immelman at Mark_Immelman. Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.